I just said,
Right. Yeah.
I was not. Since we do have, honestly, this is one of the more earlier birds that I have as far as workshops and people being here on time. I believe we could probably, go ahead and get started. And for those that are joining, they can definitely catch this later on YouTube. But just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. My name is Sean Freeman, here with Mr. Jourdan King. This is a free hype workshop based on creating digital experiences. We look forward to, just learning a lot in this time, especially during the COVID times that we live in. It's such a needed thing to know how to operate in a digital space, knowing how to continue to bring people together, bring ecosystems, communities together while we are properly socially distancing. So Mr. Jourdan Ivory has, just some great gems for us all. Just a little precursor before I give the floor to Jourdan. We of course go way back. He knew me before I probably even recognized I knew him. Our parents worked together, and just growing up, always had some very strong family ties, and just recently reconnected when I moved back to Ohio. And then moving back, it was just true fate to be able to see a childhood friend doing everything that I really wanted to do. So Jourdan really set the platform for, what I'm doing right now with these workshops. And I appreciate him. He's a big brother to me, and looking forward to learning more during our conversation tonight. So just Jourdan Ivory once again, everyone. Jourdan, if you could just, introduce yourself and kind of give everyone a little bit of your background, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So my name is Jourdan Ivory. I am a digital strategist by trade. I have a degree in sociology and mathematics from the University of Cincinnati, as well as Sinclair Community College. I own a digital marketing firm in Cincinnati, based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. We service clients all across the country, hoping to get international here very soon. But we do digital marketing and collateral needs for companies, as well as internal and external PR communications and operations consulting. So realistically, all those things that I just said to you are basically, I'm a freelancer with a team of freelancers. And it's awesome that we're talking digital experiences because it really kind of is cohesively tied to that. I am born and raised from Dayton, Ohio, as Sean has shared. I've known him since he was called Al Freeman. He might beat me up for saying that on here, but I grew up as little Al. His father, Ben Freeman, was a true mentor to me. He was that male figure that gave me the in routes when I thought my parents were done with me or giving up, or I needed somebody else to vent to. Sean's father was always that listening ear to me during those days. And growing up around 200 children every single day, because my parents are in daycare, you need confident friends, okay? Because word gets around fast with kids, right? Came to Cincinnati 2006 to go to school, partied too hard. Went back to Dayton because my parents were paying out of pocket. They laughed me out of the financial aid office and told me that my parents made too much and they didn't have any money for me. So what do you have to do? You got to run home, right? So I ran home, went to Sinclair Community College. My parents made me pay for things out of pocket, which was pennies, guys. And if you lived in Montgomery County and went to Sinclair, and I'm sure it's still very similar, I was paying almost $22 a credit hour. My books were maybe even more expensive than my classes. So in those, I got the experience of online learning as well as the in-person learning experience. And UC was kind of implementing that, but Sinclair was kind of really at the forefront of it. And so went to Sinclair, graduated with 2 associate degrees, and went back to UC. After graduating, I couldn't find a job. Nobody really wanted to hire me, back in 2011. Times were still hard for Black males with degrees, honestly, and I wasn't settling for anything less. I had worked in daycare for quite some time, and today I have 18 years of daycare experience. And I know Sean can vouch for me on that. I literally started from cleaning up the trash to literally running the daycare. So, so being in charge of the license and the individuals under it. So that kind of shaped my struggle and my grind and the way that I kind of maneuvered about things, because being detail oriented, knowing things from start to finish is always crucial. So went back home, worked in the daycare because, of course, if nobody else is going to hire me, my mother will. Okay, so worked in the daycare, had the opportunity to work with kids, but my mother, being an entrepreneur, told me I needed to go after my dreams, and that I needed to make sure that I was doing what God had set out for me to do. So as I was following those dreams and working for my parents, I was able to go on tour, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. I know that's in the notes. Was able to work with quite a few large-scale artists on the road, able to do logistics and work in this kind of like virtual remote space, and make things happen and being in charge of adults at that point instead of children, right? I got tired of being on the road. It was hard to find a woman. It was hard to maintain a decent lifestyle. It was hard to maintain friendships and find people that, really understood kind of like what your days in and days out are. And unfortunately, in your mid-20s, and if some of you are there, this may be news to you, but some of your friends are going to change on you because you're doing great and they're not. And they want the success that you're receiving, and they shoot you down because they feel like you should be taking them with you. So navigating that kind of stuff was really kind of what propelled me to honing in on more of my purpose, which was helping get the word out about things that that meant the most to me. That was food. That was locally sourced items. My parents were always at farmers markets, always grabbing locally sourced stuff. So I became the PR director for a locally owned restaurant group called We Hive LLC. They own all the Sleepy Bee cafes. They also own Astor on 4th. I had the opportunity to work with them on other opportunities as well, with Brazy Street Art Studios, as well as Glassroom Art, and even Blue Manatee Bookstore as they were selling it. So it was truly like an all-in experience. But I was the first Black in corporate. I was the first male in corporate. And although I think a lot of us, especially those of us that are African American, we know how to navigate racism. It's hard as a Black man when you haven't been taught how to navigate sexism. And so my passion was already built inside of me about minority business and women. So when I said that I was going to do my digital firm, I wanted to focus on minority women in business, because my mother and father, and most of you on the call today know them, are for real machines. The machines behind the scenes. They've done school boards, they've done elections, they've done everything, okay, in terms of really helping shape the community from inside out. And so my passion and purpose led me to trying something new. Navigating that sexism, decisions were being made outside of the room that I couldn't necessarily kind of, dive into. I was asking questions that weren't getting answered in front of me, but somehow an answer just kind of reappeared through someone else. So I didn't feel welcome. I was speaking at the National Newspaper Publishers Association's national convention, talking about Facebook and social media. I saw Eric Kearney and asked him if he was hiring at the African American Chamber. He said that there was a potential that, they had an opening coming up. So I am currently the program director of the Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky African American Chamber of Commerce. Why that's so incredible and significant is, number one, it's all about African American businesses, individuals that do business with African Americans, as well as small to large scale corporate entities, and people of all ages in between. So I'm not just dealing with children. I'm not just dealing with parents. I'm dealing with the community as a whole now. So as my mother asked me why I was leaving such a good PR job to go into the nonprofit sphere, I told her, it was time for me to walk in that path and that purpose. And the beautiful thing about having those supportive parents is that they supported me through it. They're like, let's do it. Make it happen. You were made for this. This is what we taught you from the beginning. So that's a little snapshot of me.
That's huge, man. That's huge. And parental support, will take you such a long way, because they really do kind of set those initial ceilings for us, as far as like how far we think we can go. And Yeah, man. You know, if they place it high enough, and if they place it to the sky, we definitely gonna try to achieve that. So that's huge. That's huge. Kind of jumping into our first question. Where did the vision for creating digital experiences come from?
So my path is not really traditional. My path into this world wasn't really traditional, honestly, and I won't dig too deep into that. But to kind of put it into perspective, I was born deaf. I was like 67% deaf. The fluid in my ear wasn't pushing out, so I couldn't hear anything coming in. Uh, Although I'm now, of course, hearing and able to talk and read and do all these wonderful things, right? Everybody calls me the spiel god. I didn't really understand how it was shaping not only my education setup, but also the way that I create and am creative. So I'm a very tactile visual learner. My parents were always throwing Legos and puzzles at me. In college, my friends will even tell you I used to literally put 2 minutes on the microwave, and we would literally bet with people that I could get the Rubik's Cube done in time. To make just a couple bucks to pay for the natty lights, right? So, so the puzzles and the tactile learning was always there for me. But I didn't understand how it was shaping me creatively. I'm blessed again. I'm gonna shout my parents out several times today. Okay, so I hope it doesn't get old. But my mom was the first person to recognize that my learning style was different than others, and always helped cater to that. So being in that space, I was honest when I was struggling in school about what was really, happening, what I was really feeling, and unfortunately, I realized that I had anxiety because of it, not being able to identify my creative motions, not being able to do those things. So I started to try to follow my creative path. So I got into marketing. All right. I was doing videos. I had a camera. I was working in the entertainment sphere already, doing tour management, as I said. And sometimes tour management is like a startup. And I know you can vouch for this, Sean. We were talking about this earlier. Tour management is like a startup. If somebody drops the ball, somebody's sick, you got to put that hat on. You got to make it still rock. And it doesn't matter if you're the one setting up the merch, the one dealing with the meet and greet, or actually dealing with the artist or the product itself. You have to be all three of those people if those people don't show up to work.
Yeah.
So, in that light, I was able to kind of explore some of my creative in a space that I was already comfortable. So I started doing recap videos. I was one of the first people in Cincinnati, and Giovanni Crawford is here on the call today too. He can definitely attest to this. I was one of the first people pushing out visual marketing for clubs, for promoters in Cincinnati. I was making $165 off of 15-second Instagram videos for the day party, for the stuff coming to Mix, for the stuff coming to Cameo, so all these different things that were happening here. So I was already kind of in that digital sphere, and I understood at that point the power of it. So as I started maneuvering, social media started to grow. And the one thing that I realized that really separated my parents, who are 30 years older than me, from me was the social tech gap. My mom wasn't on Facebook when I jumped on Facebook. My people weren't, my older people my sister is 10 years older than me too. And our brother and sister are friends, but they weren't really on Facebook, and then when my sister did get on Facebook, I was like, well, you can't be my friend because you're my sister, you're not my friend. And you'll probably tell mom all the things that you're seeing on my Facebook too, right? So playing in that digital sphere, I started to get more comfortable. But being that creative, I found the space to be able to kind of leverage those kinds of opportunities in that virtual space. So there wasn't much for me to do in the digital sphere with PR with Sleepy Bee. There was actually another person on my team that did that, and they did a phenomenal job. However, I was already working with a local brand who did the marketing for the African American Chamber, and they were looking to outsource the flyer making, the design work, and all of that. So working in the digital design piece, I was promoting all of these different events for people in terms of art. I was like, we have to kind of hone in on this space. But, the one thing that always sets us back when it comes to tech is access and funding. And no tech is really cheap, right? And especially when you're trying to do it for the masses. This Zoom even costs, so there are costs that are associated with it. And a lot of times we can't, as a people, afford those things. So we are then left out. So, my first digital experience really came from pushing the chamber to do more. We were doing a lot. We told that we do 120 programs a year. In 2019, I joined the African American Chamber as shared. We did 176 programs in 2019 as well. In 2020, I'm on track to do over 200 programs, and that's through COVID. And these programs are not only in the virtual space, but they're being recorded just like this is. And that's something that has not, ever happened at the chamber. So that was really kind of like my first real kind of push into the full digital space, not just like a digital component is accompanying it, like, God is Dope and the podcast and the different kind of experience series, but having this as the full force, meat and bones. The chamber was really kind of like my first real kind of run at it.
Wow, man. Wow, that's huge, and that took a lot of vision to be able to, bring those worlds together during that time for sure. Um, Man, yeah, 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 for sure. So how did you create your first digital event? Like, I know we kind of spoke on as far as like, taking pictures and beginning to power that into a recap video. Um, but was that, or when you started to work for the chamber, what was that like? Was that new to you? What were kind of maybe, yeah, what was
Yeah,
that?
sure. So my one thing that I say to everyone is that everything is cohesive that I've done. People say, what do you mean? So I've worked with Post Malone. I've worked with Kid Ink. I've worked with Stolly. I've worked with Lil Wayne, okay, in terms of the entertainment sphere. And that was a lot of old school people. I've also worked with Earth Gang, okay, Justin Bieber, all right, those kinds of individuals. And the one thing that I tell people all the time is that the same thing that I do at the chamber every day in terms of virtual programming and programming in general is the same stuff that I did on the road with artists, and was the same thing that I would do in the classroom with children in daycare. Yes, the environments may be different, okay, but the platform is very, very similar. And in the digital space, I really feel like I utilize that same sort of formula. So, working with Post Malone, I was setting up meet and greets. I was handling and making sure that the logistics were coordinated for the bus, for the food, for the people. Okay, I was managing where stuff was coming in, where stuff was coming out. So full force logistics, but also then dealing with the people that were dealing with us. So coming to the chamber, it was very much so the same. So I have members that come to programming, okay? I have community partners that come to programming, and I have just community individuals that hear about programming on social media and show up. So the thing is that we're still coordinating an experience, okay? But we're also then that customer service and interpersonal kind of skill is necessary. In person, somebody has to pull up to your event, right? They got to pull up, they got to walk in, you come to the chamber, you got to sign in, right? And you're stuck there. You're not really stuck, okay? But you're not going to leave once you've shown up for the program. If you're on Zoom, you have the ability to just click off. Okay, nah, Jordan's boring me, I got to go, okay? Oh, no, somebody's calling me, I got to go. There's a real quick margin for distraction, okay? And the thing is that you have to think about it in that same sense. So in determining on how I was going to do programs digitally, I wanted to make sure that it made the most sense. So of course there's Facebook Live, IG Live, there was Zoom, GoToMeeting, Google Meetings, Skype, right? Now there's the Messenger desktop app. There's all these different things and items that now you can work in and utilize as work tools. I like Zoom because I realized that I could finesse the back end. Malcolm and I were talking before we got started tonight, and I was telling him that at the chamber, and I have no problem sharing this, okay? The city has cut our budget by $34,000. So income tax is a real big revenue generator. So we're losing money by the day. So we're being smart with our funds, okay? Because we have to make sure that we're there for our people. If you're a resource, you can't run out of the resource, right? And then what are the people left to do? And a lot of times that's what we end up doing. So I wanted to make sure that it was, number one, accessible, comfortable, something that people could really dive into, but it also gave you the ability to interact. because as much as I knew we were not going to be able to be in the physical space, we
Yeah.
still got to network. We still have to connect. The world is still happening. And sadly enough, the troubles that we were facing outside, we're still facing those outside while we're stuck inside, or while they're keeping us inside, right? And
Yeah.
so the thing is that we still need the ability to come together. And at the chamber, a lot of people, not to say that my programming isn't phenomenal, okay, because along with quantity, when I say over 200, I want you to know that there's a quantity factor that is most definitely in place, but a quality factor that must be as much parallel, if not more, okay? Because the first thing people will say is, well, you said you do 120 programs, now you're doing over 200 programs. Well, I'm sure you could have cut some of those out. And I'm proud to boast that by the end of June, we will have done 120 programs, that we have had over 2,600 attendees, even during COVID. We are at, I think, I want to say maybe 38 programs in the virtual space. And now we have the ability to capture them. And it's a learning moment, okay? And let me say that before I get into capturing it. It's a learning moment. So not only am I able to navigate, but like today, I was able to help Malcolm navigate. You know what I mean? And that's helping further and free hype. Okay, these people will charge you for these freemium stuffs. Okay, they will find a way to get that check from you. All right, it says free, but there's an angle. This stuff is not cheap. Okay, so the thing is that I was able to really hone in on that first digital experience, because number one, I knew it had to happen. Okay, because you have to protect your job. If there's no programs, there's no reason for a program director, right? And when the cuts come, although we didn't know that they were coming, I could have been on the chopping block immediately, because clearly my portion of the day is not there. So I think as millennials, as young entrepreneurs, and let me say this I word too, intrapreneurs, okay, we have to seize the moment and think ahead. And a lot of us sometimes are halted by our boss. I have the phenomenal opportunity to work with previous State Senator Eric H. Kearney. And whatever idea I kind of present, he flushes it out, but he tells me to do it. And the ability to kind of own your work gives you the integrity boost to make sure it gets done properly, but also make sure that you're able to stand behind it. And I think that sometimes, you know, in the workspace, a lot of us kind of just sit back, especially when we don't like upper management, and just let things happen. And unfortunately, if I would have sat down on programs, I would have sat down on the chamber and our members and community as a whole.
It's a solid way to tie it, man. It's a solid way to tie it. And maybe if you would just maybe kind of speak to some of the events that you guys had in this first half of 2020.
Sure. So the beautiful thing, like I said, is that we get to create in that space. And let me define some vocabulary before we go further. Everybody knows what an entrepreneur is, okay? You're the boss, right? You're in charge of it. It's all your liability too, okay? So let's make sure we talk about the pros and the cons too, all right? All of those risks are yours, all right? And entrepreneur is an individual working inside of a corporate entity that you don't own, but you're creating ideas to progressively push it forward, okay? Now, some of y'all are over there on your Webster's dictionary trying to look that up. Okay, that's the Jourdan Ivory definition. All right, okay, but that's generally what it means. And I, before this, was able to speak at multiple conferences about the entrepreneurship and the navigating entrepreneurship to that entrepreneurship seat. So you have to think about the positives during those negative times. So during COVID, yes, I was worried I may lose my job. People can't come together. If I don't have attendees at programs, I don't have a job. Again, no programs, no program director, okay? So I would have been reassigned or whatever that may have been, right? So that moment, though, is kind of like that entrepreneurial push. You're like, ooh, I'm tired of working for the man, or maybe you've been furloughed during this time. Maybe your job has been cut as a whole, okay? So now you're leaning on that hustle, okay? So now that hustle is coming to fruition. And the thing is that in the entrepreneurship, it's the same sort of thing. I work in the nonprofit sector now, so there are goals, there are KPMs, key points of measure, okay? So we are always working on those numbers. Being a mathematician, though, I'm able to kind of look at it in a forecasting kind of concept and way. So some of the programs that we've done during this time, and I'll kick it off with our largest virtual event, was Virtual City Hall Day, okay? One thing that we said that we do for our members, and this is not an African-American chamber plug, okay? This is just what we really do. We advocate for individuals in our member base, okay? And when we say advocate, our president CEO is a previous state senator and the second Black partner in any law firm in Cincinnati, but also the leading Black lobbyist in our region. Okay. I won't take your time up with what lobbying is. Okay. We're not going to dig that deep, but research that though. Okay. Make sure you put that in your notes for today, because those are the individuals really helping make things happen. So you have to make sure that, that you're owning that experience. So that entrepreneurship allows you to kind of push that thing forward. So when I got to the chamber, I could have been settled. I could have been fine with the 120 programs, but pushing that to, the maximum, I have to make sure that those numbers match. So Virtual City Hall Day was our advocacy piece. Okay. So we were able to put individuals in our member base in front of the mayor, the vice mayor, every single person except for every single person on council, except for Jan Michelle Lemon Kearney, who has a clear conflict of interest because our president CEO is her husband. So conflict of interest there. So she did not speak or in attendance, but we also had Vice Mayor Chris Smitherman. We also had the Department of Economic Inclusion. We had the Assistant City Manager. We had Health Commissioner Melba Moore, okay? And the thing is that when I say those names, I'm not saying it to boast about it. Number one, the organization of these kinds of events and those kinds of people are really, really tough, okay? And during that time, they're talking about COVID issues, budget meetings were happening, and all that background stuff is kind of happening, right? And in the physical space, you'd have a team, okay? Typically in the digital space, Sean over there trying to make sure people get into our Zoom call tonight, you know what I'm saying? So he's asking the questions, but he's doing a lot. Yeah. So the beauty of it, though, is that some of that stuff sometimes gets missed, but City Hall, maybe in the space that we would have been in for that event, would have held maybe 45 to 50 people. No lie, okay? And this is in my city report. We had 123 people in attendance for Virtual City Hall Day. And it went from 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. So when I say people have to be engaged, the topics have to be sexy, okay? It's got to make sense, okay? You got to treat it like your own. I sold people on Virtual City Hall Day because I was telling them you will be able to be face-to-face with the legislators and the individuals that are making the changes that are affecting us day by day. My whole job, so it's like we have to be serious and intentional about those movements, but we have to kind of forecast where it can be, okay? Because realistically, I was limiting myself, and now I'm able to have a tangible receipt to show my president to say, hey, listen, I know we were going to do Virtual City Hall Day, and our stretch goal in person was 50 people. Well, we did 123. Our stretch goal for digital was 100, okay? I'm calling people left and right. My team is calling people left and right, okay? And we're not a large team. There's about 7 of us on staff. So having the ability to kind of like navigate, give people something real and tangible in a time where they're absolutely in need, it kind of adds a different layer of like customer service perspectives. So I really, really, really like get excited about virtual programming and digital events because I really think that the opportunity is endless. And as an entrepreneur or intrapreneur, having something recorded, especially like in this moment where maybe you're asking a question, maybe you're the moderator and the host, maybe you're the speaker like myself, whatever it may be, now it's recorded. It's a receipt. Okay, and this is going to be posted to Free Hype as well as to YouTube. You can send potential clients there. All right, you can tell people that you've been a part of these kinds of sessions and workshops. If you're on Zoom, you're able to actually track the chat. You're actually able to see the individuals who would like to be on camera, even in a recap. So now you have the ability to really show somebody that you were there, that you were active, right? There's also the negative. As I said, I wasn't going to talk about the pros without the cons, right? They can also see when when you're still in your PJs. We've all seen those wild Zooms where homie thinks the camera's off, right? And they start making their own personal house moves, right? So, there are some factors that I think play into it that are that could be harmful. I've moderated for a brand in Cincinnati called Curvy Cardio. And unfortunately, some of these in churches in and of themselves are getting Zoom bombed. So, people are putting, pornographic material, slander, and real nasty stuff in people's Zoom meetings, okay? Post Malone also jumped in a Zoom meeting, a Zoom sorority meeting last week too, okay? So Zoom bombing ain't all bad. But the thing is that we now have, we're vulnerable in different spaces. And I think that that's a good thing, because that's going to help truly perpetuate and help us progress at a more rapid pace.
Mm-hmm.
Scams are at an all-time high right now. And it's because people are at home, people are clicking, you know? And so you have to be in that digital space competing. And I wanted to make sure that the chamber was definitely in that space. But before we go forward, let me say this. You said something truly inspiring at the beginning of this, and you said it in our call earlier today, that I inspired you to do this. And
Yeah.
I think that, you know, I told you when we spoke earlier, you can read my bio, you can just introduce me. It can be as informal or formal as you want, because I don't really think that that's what stands. I think it's the integrity of the relationship and the actions behind the words. And the thing is that you told me that you were inspired by what you saw from what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was raised to do. People say that I'm humble or humble to a fault, or I don't always toot my own horn. And if you know me, you know that I will rattle off all the 110 trillion things that I have jumping off, okay? But I don't always say how great those experiences are. I don't always take the time to celebrate myself and the greatness. And I think that that's all of us, especially when we're busy and you gotta make it to that next check, right? you gotta keep progressing, because time isn't waiting. So, you know, I want everyone to know that do this stuff on purpose and do it intentionally, because the greatest feeling I've had in the last month was hearing Sean Freeman tell me today that I inspired something that I'm already in awe of. Truly. Okay, you have a platform. Free Hype is incredibly dope as it is and was and will be, right? But this is another layer of it. And as I've been telling people, you talking to the tastemakers. And yes, I call myself a tastemaker, okay? But the thing is that we're doing real change. We're having real conversations. And I think a lot of times we're okay with just sitting on our hands, and we're not those kinds of people, and we didn't come from those kinds of people either.
Not at all, bro. Not at all. That's 100%, 100% agreement, man. I do want to say before I insert these couple questions here, because we do have a couple questions and want to address those, as I'm sure they'll be piling up. I've been to a few chamber events, and what was the one at Copa? Was that the social exchange?
So at COPA, that night was our annual meeting. So it's where we induct we welcome our new board members, and we say goodbye to the ones that are leaving.
Man, that was like, oh, word, like, okay, like this is, yeah, like this is where it can be done, because man, there was so many powerful people from different races, you know, in that room. Like it was a melting pot, you know. But to your point, it's like it's very few places sometimes where, and that event was free, you know, where you can just be in a room with such influential people and be able to, your spill was right there, you know, like everybody has an open ear to you. So that was huge. Miss Battle, Miss Marie has a question. She says, "Do you charge a fee for your workshops? If so, how much?"
Sure. So that's something that we've been looking at. I think as an event coordinator and, you know, program director, sometimes you have to look at what draws the people in. And if you're on this call and you've done events before, okay, I may say something that's going to amaze you, or you're about to be like, listen, this brother really knows what he's talking about. You do a free event, people don't show up. People don't come out for free for whatever reason. It's hard to sell free. You charge a $5 ticket, people show up in droves, okay? I was working with a female minority-owned brand here in Cincinnati, and I told her, she was doing free events, I told her, charge $1. Charge $1. You get 350 RSVPs at $1. You made $350 off of this potentially free event. People are more apt to buy for each other. People are more apt to buy for themselves. You have to make it make sense, right? People have a lot of money right now, so don't be ashamed to charge some money for your events. But I think that the comfortability setup is very crucial and important, especially when you have a member base in cohesion with like a community, okay? So it's not just like it's a member benefit, but it's just something that the chamber does, right? So charging that fee, I think that there has to be a certain level of, you have to entice them with something. There has to be like a tier upgrade, right? So on the paid events that we do, which are like the exchange, which is a monthly networking mixer, we have a high-level speaker, and we'll have one this month too. So I'll drop all that at the end of this. But we would typically charge in the physical space $10 for members, $25 for non-members, but it included food, a couple drinks. We like to feed our people. I think that you need brain food to network. Okay, if you need food to read, to move and maneuver, you need food to network. Okay, as I said before, I'm a foodie. Okay, that's why I run, by the way, too. But the thing is that we try our best to make sure that we make it make sense. So high level speaker, food, beverages, and the whole shebang. There's a fee. If we did team building with Camp Central, presented by Sean Freeman 2 months ago, which was one of our first digital events. I'm not charging anything for the digital space. The regional chamber in Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Regional Chamber does charge. They have different platinum, gold, silver, bronze plans for their members, and it allows them access to certain programming. I think that you have to find you have to find that even ground. Don't be afraid to charge any dollars, especially when you're giving out quality content, but also make sure that you limit the expectations. When I ask my speakers to come speak at the African American Chamber, I don't have a budget. I don't have anything that I can give you as a tangible takeaway in terms of dollars or monetary value. What I can offer to you, though, is a very well promoted event, 5 to 10, if not more, attendees. Okay. And that I'm going to do my best to make sure that, number one, we're going to be full energy in the moment, but also when we come off of it, that I'm pumping people that it makes sense to as well. And so, the fee portion of it kind of limits a piece of that digital aspect. So if there is a fee attached, are you going to monetize it even for the recap? How does that work? And then do you give them a teaser? If you are going to give them a teaser, you can't really do that on YouTube, or you have to have, a proprietary platform to push that stuff on that you can monetize it properly. So, and there are platforms for that. Don't get me wrong. But I think that if you're trying to rev up the traction, create those abilities to, have the free opportunity for people to network, build up that integrity, that the programming makes sense, and then bring something at a higher level than what you have been bringing. We can always level up. Okay, there's always somebody more powerful, more intriguing, more sexy than somebody else, okay, in terms of topics, all right? I can talk to you so sweet in your ear about social media, okay? You'll be like, oh, I'm going to have 1,500 followers by the time I'm done with Jourdan, okay? I got about 16, all right? Well, we'll drop my information at the end. But the thing is that you truly have to be intentional with it. So if you're bringing a high-level person, it shouldn't be a problem for that ask either, okay, in terms of the fee. So I don't necessarily charge for all my workshops. There are some that are charged for.
Nice. And then we do have a question from T. T asks, what digital programs do you offer at the chamber at this time?
Okay, let me flex a mental muscle. Okay, you guys are going to be impressed, but really I just stare at a spreadsheet most of the day with this. We have categories that we do professional development in at the African American Chamber with our programs. So the beauty of it is I get to create those categories right at the beginning of the year when we're deciding on our budget. So those are marketing know-how, business basics, social media matters. We have a whole wellness category, and I generalize that one because there's not really wellness inside of chambers. Okay, and when people say wellness inside of the chamber space, it's like a workout class. And nothing against that, okay? But that's not really wellness, okay? And that's not really treating the whole individual. And we have to be honest, fitness isn't always for everyone. So all of our programs, I say this wholeheartedly, okay? And not all of our programs have officially been rolled out quite yet. All of our programs are being shaped for the digital space. So our virtual programming is going to include every single piece of our program categories. Okay, so we're doing Love Yoga Sundays on Sunday with Dr. Anissa Shomo of Dr. Shomo Knows. We have Curvy Cardio in the evenings on Sundays with Morgan A. Owens brand and Curvy Cardio. During the week, we have Mental Health Matters. We talk about the true individuals and where the healthy piece of it is, for you to work at home, work at work. What should you be eating? How should you be eating? And I think that when we talk about professional development, we don't always talk about the unsexy side, the how the people feel. How do your people feel? And the one thing that I learned from my parents is that you have to treat your staff well. You know, and I'm sure you can remember, but we would go away with the daycare. Daycare would go away for a weekend with the whole entire staff. We would go to a casino, someplace with a conference space where my parents could feed the staff, you know, show them a good time, allow them some freedom, give them some dollars, and really bond before summer really took off.
Mhm.
And I think that that's so super important for a lot of things, because it's that human value piece that I think that people are really interested in. And so when I say I want to move intentionally and that we're moving intentionally and it has to make sense, I think wellness was a big piece of that. So we have literally taken everything that we were doing in the physical space and brought it to the digital space, because I don't want to be like, and no offense to them, I don't want to be like the Greater Cincinnati Regional Chamber. I don't want to be, I don't want to have to worry about trying to send my people home. I don't want to have to worry about what my members are doing and how they're doing, or when I'm back in the office, I'm going to make it happen. I want people to have access in the moment. I want people to really be able to have a resource or people that they can call. A lot of times we don't get the money that we're promised. We don't get the same advantages that we see, you know, our counterparts with. And a lot of times it's the lack of resource or somebody to talk to with a true understanding. So I try to make sure that these digital programs are happening daily. So number one, we have, you know, same members. We've got a same community. You have a place to go. You have something to do today. You know, I was excited about today. I didn't have any programs today, but I was excited to be on here today. So, you know, I'm blowing Sean up early in the day. Like, man, you excited? I'm excited for today. I'm looking forward to this. You know, and the beauty of it is it's the network value. It's the ability to be able to help us, you know, as a whole. And when I say us, I mean the individuals looking for the education.
Huge, man. Huge. What would you say is your biggest challenge in this digital space that you faced thus far?
So being at a chamber, you have members. I have a member who's 86 years old that comes to programs. I have a member who's 20 years old that comes to programs. I have non-members that are 18, 19 years old that come to programs because they think that the topics are, you know, are something that are relatable to what they have going. So they want to experience it. The physical space was inviting because it was new. We're in a brand new building with the African American Chamber. We're at 2303 Gilbert Avenue. It's huge. It's really, really awesome. When we open the doors back up, I invite everyone to come in, but for now, we will just hang out virtually, okay? The physical space is very important. People want that comfortability, right? And I think that kind of transformed into the digital space too. And that was why I chose Zoom, because I didn't want people to feel like they couldn't make things happen or that there was an excuse on why you couldn't be at programming. Okay. And I had a client tell me the other day, they were like, you make it sound like Sunday school. You sound like the pastor telling you better show up. Okay. And the funny thing is that I really kind of, and not to compare it to the Lord, because it's not that, but I want you to know that you got to treat things just as seriously as you would those kinds of things. Your reading, your faith. Okay. The way you wash yourself, you got to make sure that you're on point with all of these things. And with that, you have to educate yourself. And a lot of times we don't always educate ourselves without the support of a resource. So as we were making that pivot, I didn't want to turn people off. So instead of us just saying, hey, we're doing virtual programs, we called people. We told them exactly how to access Zoom. We dropped informations and infographics with step-by-step tutorials on exactly how to operate Zoom. I actually recorded myself in the very first days of how I was actually logging on to Zoom.
Yeah.
So if I had a client or a member who had interest in joining Zoom but didn't feel comfortable in navigating it or was struggling in that sense, I was able to actually send them that and they were able to watch me step by step. Now let's take it to a whole nother factor though. On Zoom, you can share your screen. Sean, I know me and you had some problems with that, okay? So if y'all watch our recap video, please drop some funny comments at Sean, because it's a funny story. We'll share that later in my takeaways. But very, very awesome, very, very funny. But the thing is that you have to make sure that you're serving the people. And I know I've said that a lot today, but you have to make sure that they're comfortable. If they're not comfortable, they're not coming. If they don't feel like it's something of value, they're not coming. So, and you have to be on it. And the crazy thing is that I don't really have a big team. So a lot of that like hand holding, that customer relations management is me. And unfortunately, I'm not one of those that just throws a program and you introduce yourself and all this other stuff, which I've attended many Zoom webinars where it's just like, it's just on. Hi, I'm Jourdan. Yeah, thanks, Sean, for having me. But Sean didn't say anything, right? And it's like, there's no personality to it. And so when people come on, just like how we were on this, like, it was personable. We spoke to everyone, before we got started. So if we haven't spoke to you, we'll go down the list and say hi, okay? But we spoke to everyone. We connected. There was some networking going on. We had the ability to have conversations off topic. We were able to have conversations on topic. So that comfortability thing is really huge for me. So that was one of the biggest challenges. I wanted people to feel comfortable, and it's hard to know what people really feel when they already kind of really trust you, because they're not really honest about maybe some of the setbacks because they don't want to disappoint you. And especially when you're their tech guru. they don't want to be like, Jourdan, did you show me this? Do I know what that vocab word means? What does minimize? What does download update mean? Right? Yeah. Okay, so the comfortability is really huge. Now, the other thing too is like the scheduling. I used to do programs at all times of the day. Some stuff was midday, some stuff was in the evening, some stuff was early afternoon. And I did a lot of that to try to test out what worked best. But what I really found that worked best was consistency. So now programs at the chamber, unless it's a special event, are from 12 to 1. Why? Because programming is happening at the chamber from 12 to 1. And you don't have to know what it is. Once you start vibing with us and you see it, I create that brand loyalty, that brand trust, right? You know what you're coming to the chamber for. Now you're able to come and join, and you know when it's happening. All of this is important because it gives you the comfortability to create. You have to be able to navigate these spaces in a creative mind. You have to try to make this better for yourself. If you are trying to obtain resources, you have to think about how that's going to help your current situation. Don't just be out there blindly gaining resources, guys. Okay, I tell people all the time, the reasons why I really don't like speaking at conferences is because I don't like talking just at people. And you don't have the ability to digitally connect like we do here. Okay, I'll say my email 17 different times. You're not going to get it. There's a U in my name. If you're looking for it, just hover over my name or open up your participants. Okay, there's a U in my name. My parents got fancy. Okay, I'm not French. Okay, but it looks like Jourdan. Okay, but I'm like, yeah, my name's Jourdan, like Mike. It's not like Mike. Okay, So then people, that brand loyalty, they understand that consistency is what I'm saying. They start to identify things as they see it. So it really gives you that ability to kind of build that trust, allows them to create. And when a member or a community person creates in my space, that opens up another lane of resource, accessibility, education, representation. Okay, I met Giovanni Crawford. He was not doing what he's doing today. My man was in school. Now my man is out here killing it at Remax. And the thing is that now he's an added resource to me. And as he was able to build, I was able to connect him with other individuals like the Greater Cincinnati Realtors Association and hone in on some of the things that were absolutely needed by the community. And now that he's greater, we can be greater. And again, we have a receipt for where that's happening because it's happening in digital programming. It's happening in a space where we're able to record it. And the beauty of that is that we're now inspiring others. Sean said he was inspired. Okay. But the truth of it all is that I know that we're out here inspiring, and I don't want to sound arrogant or cocky, but the other chambers in my region aren't doing this. They weren't stepping up to the plate and creating programming in a visual space, in a digital space with the visual concept. They were not. They were quick to kind of just shut down and tell members that they'd be back. Black people we get that all the time. We get that all the time. And I'm not going to get radical on here, okay? That's not me, all right? I'm a very chill. I'm a very high energy. I get excited about the things that I talk about. But the thing is that we are in real weird times, okay? It is really the Wild West out there. And the madness is that we got to come together. We got to stick together. So us being able to create these kinds of spaces and do these kinds of things, we're able to truly, truly hone in and grow together, be able to support each other more too. So that was kind of one of those real big challenges too, was that scheduling, the comfortability, the changing in terms of the physical space. But that one piece that I think really kind of set us apart, and I say this, and I'll do my best to drop the link in the chat before we get done. But Soapbox Media actually, which is a print media as well as a digital platform in Cincinnati, Ohio, as well as in Cincinnati, Ohio, as well as in Springfield. They have a couple of other things. My lights are going to do some different things, so bear with me, okay? We set in the mood in here, all right? But they've talked about me doing virtual programs at such an alarming rate, at the ability to be able to hear the governor say that we're now at stay at home and I have programs happening. And the beautiful thing about it is that, number one, it's not just me doing it. I have a team. So being able to work inside that team is very crucial. So let's talk about that proactive versus reactive. And this is going to be the PR person coming out of me right here. The African American Chamber was very old school when I got there. One of my biggest complaints is that there wasn't a transparent workplace and things were still being written, okay, to then be transcribed. Why are we doing all this work? And I said the very unsexy word that scares a lot of individuals, especially when they are on that latter part of the tech gap, okay? I said automation. Why aren't we automating a lot of this stuff? Why aren't we making it accessible in a cloud space so no matter where you're at and what you're doing or what part of the building you're in, you can have access to that information? And a lot of times we're equipped with the technology or the equipment itself, and we don't always know the functionality of it, right? You know, my mother has a smartphone. She doesn't always understand that you can just Skype. I'm like, Mama, it's simple. You know what I'm saying? We can duo. You know what I mean? We can do all these different things. And of course, you know, Sean and I were talking today on FaceTime. So it's like, you know, we have to kind of, you know, do those proactive things. We have to educate ourselves on the tech that we're utilizing and ask the questions when you have the opportunity to. When you have somebody, you know, like myself, somebody who's a digital strategist who is literally hitting all the hiccups, the speed bumps myself, okay, on this and learning from them, but helping to educate others in that time. So ask those questions, all right? We also implemented a piece called Slack, okay? It's a workspace. It allows you, it's basically like, for all my old school people in here, it's like AIM, okay? AOL Instant Messenger. It's basically a chat room that's allowing you to talk to your other counterparts inside the office without having to yell from room to room, okay? And not to say that we're the African American Chamber and we operate in such a way, but come on, when you need something, hey, Wanda, did you see that email? Did you see that email Jasmine just sent, bro? You do that, right? So in the old school facet, that's the only way. Or you got to pick up the phone. I got to dial your extension. Now I got to talk about Jasmine on the phone. You know, now we can just type it in Slack. The beauty of it is that was working inside of the physical space of the chamber, but it allowed us to work seamlessly as a team as having to transition to remote. So as I'm looking to rev up programming in a digital space, I didn't have to worry about communications with the team. There was a space that was already talking about all the projects that we had, individual asks, responsibilities, and things that needed to be done. So we were able to just kind of be like, okay, this is my new desk at home. All right, where that was my Call of Duty desk before. Okay, now it's my workspace. All right, so where I was putting in work is now where I got to put in the work. Right, so the beauty of it though is that some of this you cannot be proactive about. And in those reactive moments, and this is the PR ding going off, okay? I want you to try your best to look proactive. Okay? I want you to understand that you have the ability to change the situation. And I'm not here to just like, I'm not trying to motivate you to something tonight, okay? But you have the ability to really hone in on it, okay? And say, hey, listen, you have a way to shape it without being like, yeah, today I decided to do this. No, I didn't think I could do fitness online. I saw that it was being done. I was able to kind of mimic what was happening, offer it up as a tangible idea to the partners that we already had. And they were like, oh, shoot, I'm already doing that. I'm doing that with private clients already. So then we're able to just kind of transition it. So even in those reactive times, make sure that your PR outlook is proactive, okay? Because, and especially as Black businesses, okay? Black Owned, which is a store in Cincinnati, Ohio. If you're not hip, they have a shirt out right now talking about, we don't talk bad about Black businesses on the internets, okay? And that's big to me. But the thing is that we have to help each other. We got to come in this together. And a lot of times we tell on ourselves before and allow people to judge us before we actually just say the product is here. Okay? So if you need help with PR stuff, you got to get with a PR person. If you feel like sometimes you're more reactive in the moment instead of looking proactive. You need somebody to help you model that communication so that way it makes sense to your consumer, because your consumer, your viewer, your attendee is paying attention to that consistency.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. For sure. It's a huge lesson. Huge lesson. I think especially during these times. I'm super huge on, to your point, if it is a black business and it's like things that, a lot of times people say, well, oh, that's why I go to XYZ business. It's, my often thing is like, did you tell them, like, and did you tell them in a way that was like helpful, because oftentimes we do know, or have like some type of knowledge as to how to help them with that situation. So yeah, that's huge, man. That's huge, and definitely something that should be done more, I believe. Before jumping into our closing remarks and with our three takeaways, I did want you to shed some light, maybe, which was pretty huge to me, is the fact that you do have a radio show, and just about a little bit about the Cincinnati Herald, your ties to them, and the Dayton Defender as well.
Most definitely. So I had the opportunity 2 years ago to shoot a cover because a black press in Cincinnati, their photographer was out of town. I believe that they were covering maybe like Afrotech or something like that. Unfortunately, we as black businesses don't always have the ability to kind of have multiple people in the space. So I got introduced to Jan Michelle Lemonkearney, and some of you recognize that name because I mentioned her earlier. She is now a council member for the city of Cincinnati. She gave me an opportunity to shoot the cover of the Cincinnati Herald. And not just the cover, the ability to shoot the the Bright Award recipients. And these are individuals that are under the age of 30 that are making a change in the community. And I thought it was so powerful because, number one, she asked me my price. I told her it, and she paid me.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, no buts, no, hey, my budget is. I was paid. I was asked and I was paid. So the integrity piece was like high value. Like, oh my gosh, I'm about to be in the newspaper. They immediately cut me the check. I get there. They're like, listen, you do your thing. We're not going to stay here. They gave me a key. I'm like, oh my gosh, like they trust me. So I did my thing. I made sure that, I killed it. That networking relationship building is probably the biggest takeaway that I want you to hear me say today. Okay. And I'll talk about that in my takeaways, but I was able to build with Jan Michelle Lemonkearney, and I was able to hone in on that relationship to leverage more opportunities for myself and for the community. She is the wife to my boss, who I also said is a great listener. And I think that, of course, they go hand in hand. Jan graduated with Michelle and Barack Obama inside of Harvard Law School. She also owns the Cincinnati Herald, which is also SESH Communications. And if you're from Cincinnati, I know you're probably familiar with the Cincinnati Herald. Dayton, you may be as well. Other surrounding communities, most definitely. We also, with the Cincinnati Herald, have the Dayton Defender, which is a black newspaper as well. It's a bulletin that's circulated inside of black churches in the Dayton area. It was a Dayton-owned black newspaper. Owner, I believe, was in bad shape or had passed, and they acquired it, I want to say maybe like 16 to 20 years ago. So still pushing it out. And the beautiful thing about the Kearneys is that, number one, they're incredible people. They are truly superheroes. They know the Obamas like on speed dial type deal. Okay, if you know my president on speed dial, okay, clearly you're someone of power, right? And they consistently are humble enough to continue to lift as they climb. And so the opportunity came up to speak at the National Newspaper Publishers Association's national convention, which was being held in Cincinnati. And instead of just telling me I was going to speak and asking me my fee, Jan gave me the opportunity to actually help coordinate. So she had made mention that I was going to be a part of the programming and all of this other stuff. And I'm like, cool, cool, cool. You know, I'll get 15 minutes of shine here and there, whatever. I was, you know, heavy hitter in my PR position. I won 6 City Beat Awards with Sleepy Bee Cafe, which has never been done. Trailblazing for the Black employees at Sleepy Bee, most definitely. Lifting as I climbed there. I created the partnership between Bunbury and Sleepy Bee, talking about activation and education with bees. And as I was doing that, Jan told me that I needed to do this for the Black press, that there wasn't somebody taking that kind of PR angle with tech in mind to really kind of push the envelope. And without the digital space, Black press is going to die. So I know I said the Dayton Defender, you should know that. The Cincinnati Herald, you should know that. If you don't know those, I'm not surprised, okay? The thing is that I need you to know about them now, okay? I told you to write down the vocab earlier. I want you to write down the Cincinnati Herald and the Dayton Defender too, okay? I need you to look those up. They're doing great things. They're open to individuals that would like to contribute. So I got to speak at the National Newspaper Publishers Association's National Convention. I was recognized for being a part of the planning committee, which was incredible. I got to give an hour-long workshop in front of all the Black editors and publishers from across the country. Not only just them, but also other representatives from other kind of niche presses from across the country. So it was kind of, it was game-changing for me. It really kind of showcased to me kind of my purpose, because these people were really hearing me, but I was talking to them not in an abstract kind of way, but in a niche kind of factor. How print can go digital, and how digital can support print, okay? But also how social media really is kind of that key cohesive glue to that. So I was able to gain a ton of clients after that, okay? So people always tell you, be ready, okay? You don't know your time. You don't know when the time is going to be, okay? So I was able to get up there. I was able to shine. I was also able to help make change inside of the Black press, helping a couple of them actually make it to the Apple News platform. So with that, we started to think about ways that we could do more. So Radio 1, of course, in Dayton is U92, 102.9. In Cincinnati, it's like 102.3 The Buzz, 101.1 The Wiz, okay? So we have a show on The Buzz, WDBZ The Buzz, which is a Radio 1 station. And y'all heard my radio voice come out there, WDBZ The Buzz, right? So it's called The Influencers, though, and there's actually 6 of us that are hosts. And each week we have different guests that handle different topics. So it's really, really neat. This weekend, I actually have the chief technology officer for one of the largest Black petroleum companies in the nation, okay? High Towers Petroleum. I have their CTO on my show this weekend, 6 at 11 a.m. on Facebook Live. Go to the Cincinnati Herald's Facebook page, and you'll be able to see it. We'll stream it, but it'll also be recorded if you need to catch it. But we'll be talking about remote working. We'll talk about that digital experience, because I can talk to you about it from a consumer aspect and trying to sell it. But the one thing that we haven't really talked about is kind of like, what's that staff feel like? How do you manage your team and give your team that added value from a remote space? So that'll be really awesome. And the thing is that we shifted that from, you can't be in a studio. Radio 1 is not allowing anybody inside of the recording studios unless you're a part of their contracted staff. So we've now pivoted that from Zoom, or from the radio, to now Zoom, where we stream it on Facebook Live. So we have to be proactive about that change. We have to be those entrepreneurs in that time of need, okay? And find your entrepreneurial aspect in that mean. And I'll talk about that in the takeaway too.
Yeah, man. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that, man. While Jourdan is giving us our 3 takeaways for everyone, please, if you do have any questions, be drafting them up, drop them in the chat. We will catch those. 3 takeaways, man. What you thinking? What you got?
My 3 takeaways. Move authentically, okay? I'm going to repeat a lot of the things that I've already highlighted today, okay? Move authentically. People, especially in the digital space, don't understand how it is transparent. And I'm not just talking about those funny Zoom meetings where you see homies doing their personal business, right? People really can see you because you are now in the true scope, all right? be over intentional with those moves, okay? Make sure that the individuals, now you have to be more accessible, okay? And the one thing that I probably should have talked about in the challenges is that whatever you bring forward as a business owner during this time, don't think that after COVID you can stop. Digital programming at the chamber can't stop, okay? I would lose following, I would lose brand loyalty. So move intentionally, okay? But think about the next move. And I think that that's kind of the real basis of moving intentionally, is knowing what that next step is going to be. Plan for that downfall. Plan for that success. But let me say this to you too. Don't be afraid. If you're moving intentionally, the path is laid for you. And that's something that my mother preaches to me all the time. What's meant to be will be. Move intentionally and authentically, okay? And people will follow. Giovanni Crawford and I met in a moment, in a hot moment, okay? We had seen each other around. We had been in multiple spaces together. We had the ability to sit in one program with Lawrence Kane talking about Let's Talk Money. And from then on, we found multiple branches and ways that we could connect on a personal level in terms of friendship, but also in terms of a business level, in terms of two entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs really trying to make it. So that moving authentically and intentionally will allow those people who are supposed to be in your life to travel in there, okay? It'll also allow you, now we're going to talk about those cons. It'll also allow you to sift through some of those individuals who aren't really there on your team, okay? And I'm going to say another T word because team is cool. And sometimes you have a team player that's not always built in. You got to have a tribe. You got to have a core tribe, okay? So in that authentic moving, have that tribe. My second takeaway, so first takeaway was move authentically. Second takeaway, be creative. Don't be afraid to push the envelope. Don't sit back and let the time pass without you saying something. And I'm talking to the corporate people in here, the corporate hunks and the corporate cuties, okay? All of y'all, okay? Because being inside of that sexist space, and not that they were intentionally doing it, okay? And I have no ill intentions towards that. But I saw what was happening, and that happens to my sisters all the time, okay? Happened to my mother all the time. And the thing is that if we move collectively and we're moving with those intentions and we're being creative in those spaces, they can't take that away from you. And at the same time, what I'm going to say to you is this, okay, is that 9 times out of 10, if you're dreaming it up and it's something that you believe can come to fruition, somebody's going to do it at some time. And don't sit back and be like, man, I should have started a video conferencing platform. Who would have known, right? So be that creative person. And some people say, I'm not creative. That's not me. I'm leaving that to you. I'm a numbers and be creative in your space.
Right.
We all have an imagination. We all have the ability to think of something larger than what it is today. Be that innovator for your industry or even your hustle. A lot of us feel trapped in that corporate space. But if you're creatively thinking, you will cohesively brand what you did with Post Malone to what you're doing at the African American Chamber. Okay? And the thing is that it's because I was moving with intention. Okay. In daycare, I was designing programs. I was doing curriculum for children of all sizes. Okay. I was responsible for parents, making sure that they got their forms and stuff turned in, just like I am at the chamber, just like I was with non-disclosures and photo releases and that sort of thing on tour. So make sure that you're being creative in that space. Okay. And be creative with your cohesion. Okay. So move authentically, move creatively. Okay. And the last thing that I'm going to say to you, and I was kind of battling with this one. Don't be afraid to leverage your receipts and successes. Don't be afraid to leverage your successes and your receipts. Don't be afraid to leverage your failures. I believe I got my job at the African American Chamber because I told Eric Kearney where I thought that I was flawed in the current position that I was at, where I thought I was lacking and how it was kind of changing for me. I didn't feel accepted. I won 6 awards. I should be getting celebrated. And instead, I was kind of, and I mean, no, I didn't get demoted. I was salary, which was wonderful. But they were basically trying to demote my responsibilities. That more so, I was kind of getting the fame and the, I was more so becoming the face. And I think that as you are propelling yourself, you have to prepare for that. A lot of people, a lot of people ask me why I'm not on social media as much as I once was. One of my second quarter to third and fourth quarter goals for 2020 is that I'm back on social. Okay, so you may have seen me post this on Instagram. You may have seen it in my story. You may have seen me sipping the sangria, okay, as well on Instagram. Okay, but I think that you have to. There's the ability to let people into what you have going without everything being all the way out there, okay? But give me a second, because I want to make sure that I say this properly. We want to move authentically, okay, and intentionally. We want to be creative in those spaces, okay. But you want to make sure that you are celebrating those wins, and not necessarily on social media, but flex that stuff that is dope. Okay, I'm a part of an accelerator. I didn't think that at my age I could be a part of an accelerator, and I was happily told that I was wrong. One of my 2020 goals before COVID was to sit on a board that was talking about education and social tech, helping in terms of feeding the homeless and the individuals in need. And so I found out through the Federal Reserve, yes, those people who are in charge of our money, that they have a program called BOLD, Board Orientation and Leadership Development. This will be their third class that's coming. I applied and I got accepted. So, I celebrated that inside of my team. I celebrated that with my parents. I told them how excited I was. I celebrated that with my staff and even my boss, who really kind of pushed me to do it. But they then featured me just by doing the work, just by doing what I was asked to by the organizer of the accelerator. I did the work. I met the person that I'm potentially going to work with. And ironically enough, it's one of the largest daycares in Kentucky. I got 18 years in daycare experience, and now I'm going to sit on their board. And what they're really looking for is ways to engage parents. They don't want me to talk about the kids. They want me to talk about the parents. They want me to deal with the adults. And coming from daycare, and especially from the other side of the river in Ohio, parents are some of your hardest demographics in daycare. Number one, you're dealing with somebody's most precious property, right? But number two, whose side are they on when things really get real? So you want to make sure that that you're celebrating those successes and those wins, because they featured me in their newsletter. And I was like, yo, this is dope. They said my name. This went out to 1,600 people. I haven't even started the program for real. That's a success. I shared that. I got 2 opportunities today or yesterday just off of sharing that. Okay, people that are interested in wanting to learn more, people that didn't know what the social tech gap was, or even that was a real thing. So you're sparking conversation, you're inspiring by celebrating your wins. Celebrate those failures. Tell people where you're messing up. Tell them, because you have to learn from that stuff. I've dropped the ball on many projects. I've come through and I've scooped the ball back up though, made it right. You have to be honest with yourself. None of us are perfect. We are all human beings. And all you can ask is that, that you can fall on your knees each night and pray. And my mom told me that today. She was like, you sound like you're struggling with something. You need to fall on your knees, boy. You need to fall on your knees. And that's real life. You got to pray. But you got to celebrate the gifts that God has given you too. And I think a lot of us don't always take that time. So let me break those down again. Move intentionally, okay? Be creative in your space. Move creatively, okay? And then the last piece, okay? Celebrate yourself. All of it.
Hey, man, what a pleasure, bro. What a pleasure. That was super meaningful, super thoughtful, very intentional. I know everyone will definitely take away. I've learned a lot, and been great feedback for myself here. I did have a quick question for you. I've been looking at your shirt, of course, this entire time. It says, words need an outlet to become powerful. that is like just being a writer and a blogger myself. That's like huge, huge. Um,
Definitely. This is actually Speaking in Tongues. One of their designers is actually Dayton Troutwood alumnus, DK.
wow.
Uh, and my homie Ron from Miami, or from Cincinnati, but went to Miami, Oxford. So
Yeah.
I try to support the brand wherever I can. They've given me some awesome gear over the years. Being inside of the space where you kind of you're in front of a lot of people, you have the ability to kind of leverage those kinds of opportunities. So I was able to kind of grab a lot of like branded stuff from a couple different brands. Like I was sponsored by Black Owned. I was one of their first sponsored people outside of like the real superstars of the Natty. You know what I mean? However, Speaking in Tongues always like spoke to me because ironically it spoke to me, right? But it speaks to me because it truly, this is something that I really believe,
Yeah.
you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, but people receive 0% of the words that you don't say too. So make sure you out here talking to people, introduce yourself, you know, you want to make sure that people know you, and not for the bad things, or don't do nothing crazy. Authentically introduce yourself. My name is Jourdan. I'm the program director of the African American Chamber. And code switching, let me say that I probably should have put this in my takeaway.
Mm.
Code switching. Okay, I think T is my mom in here. Okay, by the way, because she said your mom sounds cool. So that might be my mama, y'all. Uh, but the thing is that you truly that kind of threw me off, y'all. I'm not gonna lie, I shouldn't even have had the chat open. That's one of those Zoom no-nos. Okay, don't monitor the chat until you're done with your thought. Okay, because it will throw you off. People are wild. Okay, even your mama. All right. See, now she's on here now. I talk crazy, right? No. But words need an outlet. Words need an outlet. You have to put them out there, whether they're good or they're bad. They have to have an outlet to be received. So be conscious of that. Be conscious of the way that you talk to people. And I was always taught, and I know you were too. Okay, you could probably still rattle off the latch on rules,
Yeah.
but treat others how you want to be treated, and expect nothing less. And the one thing that I haven't always done is only accepted nothing less too.
Mm.
So be sure that you're walking in that spirit, and that you're really being in your purpose. And don't be afraid to ask for help. I'm here. I'm down. Sean will tell you I'm down.
Yeah.
Sean told me he was back. I was like, man, we got a vibe. Tell me more.
Yeah.
We connected while I was shopping in TJ Maxx.
Yep.
I was like, man, I got some ideas for you. I rattled off like 5 different things. Like, man, we need to do this, this, and this. I'm gonna connect you to so and so and so and so. And moving and going back to that takeaway of moving intentionally, right? I told him to show up to the annual meeting. I wanted to meet him to people. He beat me there. He beat me there. I was supposed to be there for work, y'all. I show up and Sean's like, what's up? Food is good, man. Get you a plate. I'm like, dang. And that's when you get that brand loyalty and that brand trust. And immediately upon him asking me, outside of everything that we have on the personal relationship tip, I was down for the brand. Okay? I was down. You down to work with? Come on. What we doing? I was like, what? You need a headshot? Shot. Okay, come on. Tell me where I'm at. What we doing?
Yeah.
And the thing is that's how you know greatness is coming.
For sure, bro. For sure. Hey, thanks everyone. Thanks Marvin, Giovanni, Mama, Mama Ivory, if that is you.
It is. She said Sean's
Yeah,
mom is
yeah,
cool
yeah.
too.
Thanks, Mama Ivory. Thank Jasmine. Jasmine been riding with us the whole time. We've been riding with you rather,
Right.
Passenger seat. And everyone else who joined us tonight. My mom is working, but she's listening, I'm sure. But man, oh, these two, they probably don't want to be shown, but they're over there. Yeah, little man.
It's a whole family affair.
Oh yeah, man. We gotta have a thank you. Thank you. Gotta have a family, man. Gotta have a family. But hey man, love you, bro. Thanks for just continue to inspire me. This won't, of course, be the last time, you know what I mean? Like this is far from the last time that this will happen. And I just ask that you guys, check Jourdan out, make sure that you go and like Free Hype on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, whatever socials, and yeah, man, we look forward to seeing everyone and seeing you guys again here soon.
Sean, you gotta keep doing your thing, man. This is phenomenal. You know, we got 14 people on here. This is incredible. You've been doing your thing. If you guys haven't checked out the previous events, go back. Go back and watch those. Those are fire. And they're just as laid back. The funny thing is, when I was getting ready for this today, I had my denim shirt on. Y'all was gonna see Denim Daddy here tonight. You know what I'm saying? I finally got a haircut. I look like a human being. Okay, I was super excited to show off my beard today. Ain't nobody seen my beard and whatnot. But I was like, you know what? I'm not even about to do that. I'm gonna throw this tee on. I'm gonna
Yeah,
throw this tee on that really represents who I am, you know? So be yourself. Be yourself. Y'all killing it out here. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm amazed. I really remember you as a small young man. I'm not gonna get too deep on here for the people tonight, but I really am amazed at how incredible you have become in the ability to create more greatness. And that's what it's about. That's what we were raised for. I know that's what our parents were telling us in the
yeah,
midst of all the hustle and bustle of life. You know, so everybody stay focused. Follow your dreams. Get inspired. Do the stuff that you see. Ask those people for help. And this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drop my email right now I'm gonna drop my African American Chamber email. Feel free to contact me about anything on there. You're more than welcome. My website is getting redone, and I'm not doing it. I kind of feel my designer is phenomenal. She's great. Okay, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of weird when you do that stuff and then you hand it off. It's like,
yeah,
what are you
yeah.
doing, my baby? Can I see it today? You
Right.
know, but connect with me. I want to show you all the things that we have going on. I work with a lot of different brands. I do a lot of different things. I could use an Instagram follow. Okay. I could use the Instagram follow. I think I'm at like 17.45 followers. Okay. Like not the K. All right. Just 17 of them things. All right. So give me a few more. It's about 14 people on here. I might get to about 31. All right. If
Yeah.
you don't have Instagram, you should get it. Check me out, though. Check out our programs at the African American Chamber. Shoot me an email, and I will be sure to keep you in the loop about what's happening. Sean, thank you for everything, man.
Hey, thank you, bro. Much indeed. Yep, yep. She said she proud of you, man. Mom said she proud of you. Said she was glad
Thank
she was
you.
able to listen, you know. Just and just
You're a part of that village. You truly are, you know. And this is what it takes. And our time is now. Time's got to be now.
yep. It's here, bro. It's here. Everyone keep believing, keep the faith. Y'all stay healthy and safe. See you all soon. Thanks, Jasmine. Thank you all. Peace. Recording.